should go to the gym, or our society wants them to go to the gym, or there's some kind of social pressure to go to the gym. But if we were to come up with a list of what it means to be active and fit, and healthy, we could come up with a long list of things. Go to the gym and lift weights. You could kayak, rock climb, do yoga, Pilates, whatever. We could probably sit here for like 15 minutes and come up with a real long list. And for most of your habits, if it's an important habit to you, I think it's worth it to take 10 minutes and write that list out and then look at it at the end and say, what would this look like if it was fun? Which of these options is the most fun to me? And that doesn't mean that your habits will be like the most fun thing that you do each day. It's not like it's always going to feel like going to a concert or something, but it does mean that pretty much any habit can be more fun than the default, so you might as well take a little bit of time to figure out what is the fun version of this. And ultimately, I think the reason why this matters is that if you're having fun, you're more likely to stick with it. You're more likely to persevere. The person who's having fun is actually the person who's dangerous. Like, you don't want to compete with them because they're having a good time. When it gets difficult, they're way more likely to stick with it. The person who it felt like a hassle at the start was kind of, annoying. They sort of have a negative frame around the behavior to begin with. Well, as soon as it gets difficult, they didn't want to do it in the first place. So they're much more likely to give up. David Epstein, who's the author of Range and Sports Genius, a friend of mine, he told me once, grit is fit. Grit is fit. And what he means is that everybody wants to be gritty. They want to persevere. But the way that you display that grit and discipline and perseverance is in areas where you are well suited, where it's a good fit for you. If it's a good fit, if you're well suited for it, if you're having fun, if you're interested and engaged, then you're way more likely to stick with it. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like the biggest hurdle to clear, and this is true maybe for life in general, but definitely for habits, because everybody wants to be consistent with their habits. Everybody wants to stick to them. The biggest hurdle to clear is, are you interested? Are you engaged? Are you having fun? And so the more that you can get closer to that, the more fun it can be, the more likely you are to persevere and stick with it.
I was just thinking about this idea actually the other day because I was writing, when we hit a subscriber milestone, I was trying to think about what actually mattered the most. And the first thing I wrote was creating the conditions to out-persist.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is like create the conditions so that you can do this for long enough that things start compounding in your favor, like learning starts compounding in your favor, like the returns, like the subscribers, or it could be your finances, whatever, start compounding in your favor.
The question that you asked is very similar to one that I ask myself a lot, which is, am I creating the conditions for success? So I had a really good stretch of training in the gym. And then about 2.5 years ago, I was in pretty good shape. And then I had a year where it was just like really inconsistent. I missed a lot of workouts, things, sometimes it'd go well, sometimes it wouldn't, whatever. And after that year, I was like, okay, so I got to change something. And on the surface, you look at it and you think, I'm having trouble with the workouts. You think there's some problem with, exercise, but that was actually not the problem. The problem was I wasn't creating the conditions for success. And so there were lots of other things that were intervening and like interrupting my day and making it easy for me to miss. So this last year I hired a trainer and he shows up at 11 a.m. every, 4 days a week. And when he gets there, every single time it's a hassle because I'm in the middle of something. Right? Every time I've got something going on and I kind of am like annoyed by it that he's there, but we're creating the conditions for success and it makes sure that I get down there and I do it. And then every time when I get done with the workout, I'm like, I'm glad I took the time to do that. And so nothing really needed to change with the workout. That was not the problem. The problem was I didn't have the right conditions to start the workout. And so I think this actually reveals a really deep and important thing about habits, which is so much of it is about mastering the art of getting started. It's making it easy to start. In a way, like probably 70% of what's in Atomic Habits are different strategies and different ideas and different tools that help you get started or makes starting easier. This trainer who I've been working with now, he came over the other day and he told me, yeah, I had a class in the morning. 8 people were supposed to come, but it was a pretty gross day. It was like rainy and wet and kind of cold, and only 2 people showed up. And I was talking to him about it and I said, what's interesting to me about that is how little of an edge you need to gain an advantage. Really what we're talking about there is you just need to be okay with being inconvenienced or uncomfortable for like 5 to 10 minutes, getting dressed, getting through the rain, getting to your car, getting to the gym. The workout is the same that it's always been. It's the same, you're in the same gym that you are in the summer or when the weather's beautiful or whatever. So it's really, can you handle that like 5 minutes of inconvenience? And so many things in life are like that. Can you master that little moment? And if you can, and you can still get started, that's when you gain an advantage. Everybody works out on the good days, but on the days when you feel stressed and tired, on the days when the weather's bad and it's kind of inconvenient, on the days when you don't really feel like it, can you show up, even if it's in a small way? One of my little mantras that I try to keep in mind is reduce the scope, but stick to the schedule. So the normal scope might be I write for 30 minutes, and then you look up at the clock and you're like, oh, I only have 15. And sometimes what happens in your head is you're like, oh, I don't have enough time to write